Yeah. So we're just setting up the links right now for the YouTube. And Balaram Prasad Prabhu, I asked him, he's joined in now, he's here.
For the video for the Zoom and all, are we using the temple cameras, or how does it work?
The temple cameras will be used for temple program, and for Samadhi we are going to use Srinath Krishna Prabhu is going to use the program there.
Yeah, so when people are logging in here, they'll be seeing the temple camera?
Yes.
Yes.
Camera is anyway fixed.
So you will be able to see on your phone, you will see on your phone how the camera is looking to you. Where is it looking at? So the people who are speaking need to come in front in a place where they can be seen on the camera. And then the audio system, the temple's audio system will work, right, Dwaka Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. The temple's audio system will work for the temple program, and the outside program, Srinath. Can I put everyone on mute?
I want to rename my name, but there is no options. What you want to remove your name?
Yes, Prabhuji, you were asking something?
My point is that Mother Nityakeshwari is right now in the temple room. And she's in the temple room, but she's right now speaking through her phone. And that's why we're able to hear her. It's not the temple audio that's being heard right now. But can you set up the temple audio, Mother Nityakeshwari, the mic? And we want to test the mic out, just check it working. It's working.
So, Dwarka Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So basically, what I can do, I can switch on the YouTube channel from the temple, and that we can share on the Zoom.
Okay.
So
I'll put the YouTube link if you want. Okay.
YouTube link. Okay. So that's
on the chat.
It's going through your Zoom, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine, Prabhuji.
Good. I need to put that link out on TKG Sangha.
Let me send it to you, Prabhuji.
You can send it to me, I'll send it on TKG Sangha. So
on the WhatsApp you want it, or on your?
Whichever. Send it. WhatsApp is good because I can, TKG Sangha is on WhatsApp.
Yeah,
okay.
Prabhuji also post in the, Prabhuji post also in tech group also.
Huh?
Tech group.
Tech
yeah,
group also.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Everybody, please bear with us. We're working on this right now. This half an hour it's set up just so that all the setup programs can be organized. And then at 10 o'clock, Kirtan will start in the temple room. Mother Nityakeshwari, who is the MC for today. And so she will be conducting the program from the temple room. Unfortunately, I broke my left wrist, as you can see here. It's in a plaster. And so I'm operating out of home on Zoom, just like all of you on Zoom. I'm also on Zoom.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I need some time because I don't really know how to set it up. So right now, like Srila Prabhupada's bhajan is playing in the background. So
we can't hear that right now.
Okay.
Balaram Prasad Prabhu, can you send Srinath Prabhu to the temple just so that he can look at the technical details? Because he's pretty good at that. You know?
I can check with him.
Yeah. Can you call him? Tell him please come to the temple so that he can help you. You know?
Yeah, I'll check if he's available.
Okay.
I've sent you the link, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much.
Link.
Thank you. And YouTube is live now?
YouTube is live, yeah.
Thank you.
If you need anything, can you call me, Prabhuji?
Yes, I'll do that. The same.
And Balaram Prasad is here. also.
So Dwarka Prabhuji, so did
Yes,
you put
Prabhuji.
on the, so what I'm going to do, can you make the host?
You
I
are the
made you a co-host, yeah.
Okay, so I can do the focus and I can change to the temple
Right.
channel.
Yeah. If you want, I can make you the host also. That's not a problem. Let me do that.
Yeah, make me the host Prabhuji for now. Then if you come
Absolutely.
back.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Prabhu.
There you are, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Give me a call, Prabhuji, if you have anything.
I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Wonderful. So the temple is now live on Zoom. Balaram Prasad Prabhu, what is the link for Facebook?
Prabhuji, this our regular Kalachanji temple Facebook.
Okay, so that's
Let
Radha.
me send you in the chat, Prabhuji.
Please, I'm not in chat. You can send me on Facebook. I mean on WhatsApp.
Okay, Prabhuji. 1 second, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, this our regular Kalachanji temple Facebook.
Okay, so that's
Let me send you in the chat, Prabhuji.
please. I'm not in chat. You can send me on Facebook. I mean on WhatsApp.
Okay, Prabhuji. 1 second. I just posted in your WhatsApp group, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
WhatsApp here.
Yeah, I got it.
Sure.
Could you hear that?
We can hear you now, and we can also hear Prabhupada singing in the background. Not right
No,
now.
it's not singing anymore. We have Mother Chandravali fixed it.
Oh, nice. That's very good.
It's she turned the microphone on. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, you clearly.
You're there. I'm gonna close my audio here and see if you can hear through the microphone.
Sure.
Hare Krishna. Did you hear that? I'm gonna close my audio here and see if you can hear through the microphone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, we can hear you clearly on the microphone.
I'm gonna close my audio here and see if you can hear through the microphone. There seems to be some delay in the sound.
That's
It's
okay.
working.
That's okay.
Krishna.
So, Nityakeshwari Mataji,
Yes, Prabhu?
so you can mute on over your phone now. So, and if you speak through the temple audio, we can hear that directly. It will be delay for few
How can
seconds.
she hear us? How can
Okay.
she hear us if she puts the audio off on her phone?
No, just my mute, right?
Or just
Yeah,
remove
just be on mute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good, good. Are we on Facebook Live as well, Balaram Shatu?
So I guess if you need to reach me and if you need me to hear you, maybe you can just send a message or something. It will be easier so I can see you. Otherwise,
Yes, Mataji. Yes, send me the message. If you
How
need me,
do
yeah.
you message you? On the computer, on text or through chat?
I think chat would be easiest to see.
Okay,
Yeah,
chat.
If I
that's
don't
fine.
respond, if I don't respond immediately, you need something,
Yes,
then keep messaging or send somewhere else.
that's
And so I keep my phone now.
Mataji, message in chat that Nityan Prabhu created that. Yeah, you created that same group. Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Mataji, message in chat that Nityan Prabhu created that. Yeah, you created that same group. Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
kirtan over the other one because nobody would be here. That's why I chose this kirtan over the other one because nobody would be here.
Hare Krishna.
Huh?
Hare Krishna.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Tamal Krishna Bhutale Om Shri Mate Tamal Krishna Daya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Krishna Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami Niti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nivasisa Sunyavadi Askachadisa Tarini Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Go Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Go Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radharamanadi Govinda Jaya Jaya Radharamana Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Prabhuji, move the light other side of the.
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Okay.
Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Satchinandana, Jai Satchinandana. Jai Satchinandana, Jai Satchinandana. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai, Nitai, Nitai Gauranga. Jai Satchinandana, Jai Satchinandana. Jai Satchinandana, Jai Satchinandana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Radha Kalachanji, 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 Radha Kalachanji. Jai Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev. Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Kalachanji, Radha Kalachanji, Radhe. Jaya Radha Kalachanji, Radha Kalachanji, Radhe. Jaya Radha Kalachanji, Radha Kalachanji, Radhe. Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura, Haribo. Srila Tamal, Krishna Goswami Maharaj, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Om Vishnu Pai Paramam Zabhavajagajaya Sasada Sada Shri Rama, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki. ISKCON Guru Bhakti Guru Parampara Ki. Go Premanande, all glories to the Asema devotees, all glories to all the devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gaura.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining us today for the disappearance day of His Divine Grace Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. We have devotees who are joining us here in the temple room in person, as well as devotees joining online via Zoom. You can also join through YouTube or Facebook Live of Radhakala Chanti Temple. The program today is that we're going to be sharing offerings to Srila Gurudev from now until about noon. At around 11:45, there will be a Voga offering here in the temple room, and then after that, we will go outside to the Samadhi and do Guru Puja there for Srila Gurudev. Those who are local here in Dallas are welcome to join us outside for the Guru Puja at the Samadhi. And then after that, around 1 o'clock, we will be serving the Prasadam feast, and devotees here are welcome to come and take Prasadam. Those who are here local with us or online, if you would like to speak today and have not yet informed us so, please do so. If you're here, you can let me know, and if you're online, you can send a message in the Zoom in the chat and let us know that you'd like to speak so we can get you in a schedule. We also have with us today online His Holiness Giriraj Swami, who will be speaking around 11:15, and His Holiness Vitadvija Swami is planning to join. If he feels well, he'll be speaking as well, and several other God brothers and or God sisters of Srila Gurudev. So we will speak with His Grace Nityananda Prabhu, our temple president. He will welcome you and speak a few words, and then we will continue with devotees who are here inside the temple room and devotees online. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So can you hear me in the temple room? Can you all hear in the temple room? Doesn't look like the mic's working yet.
We'll be speaking as well, and several other. Okay, so there's some. Is it off now? Okay. So we're here inside. We can hear you now. Yes. Okay.
Can you all hear me speak now? Hare Krishna. So can you hear me in the temple room? I can hear you. Yes. Can you all
yes,
hear?
Yes, we can hear you in the temple room.
Yeah. So people can hear in the temple room, right? Yes.
And several other.
Hello? Mother Nitikshori, can you hear me?
Is it off now? Okay. So we're here inside. We can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, so you all hear me speak now? Dasya, Gyananjana Shalakaya. You hear me in the temple room? I can hear you, yes. So we can
hear you in the temple room.
We can mute everybody else. Thank you very much. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranetam Yena Tasmei Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu.
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear you.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami Niti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Guruvani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Vancha Kalpaturabhascha Kripasandubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhya Vaishnavebhya Namo Namaha. Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Brindaki Jai. Shri Gaur Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. So thank you everybody for attending this program. It's wonderful to see such a nice number of people on Zoom. Most of us will be right now listening on YouTube and through temple Facebook. And there are a few devotees at the temple. because it's pandemic, we didn't encourage many devotees to come to the temple. So this is why you see only a few people at the temple. This way we can do social distancing and take care of each other's health. So today is the 19th Tir Bhav Mahotsava for Srila Gurudev. This is the 19th anniversary of his departure, physical departure from this world, mortal departure from this world. And the next year we'll be celebrating the 20th, and that's going to be a much larger celebration where the whole world will come together. It so happened this year also that the timing in Dallas was a little different and Houston was a little different from the rest of the world. The rest of the world will be doing it on what is their Sunday, the 14th, but for us, the Tithi falls on today. This is why this has happened. And so, but we did send out the message to all over the world. If anybody would like to tune in, and I see many international devotees have tuned in on Zoom, and I'm sure there are others on Facebook and on YouTube as well. So obviously, for all of us, this is a very difficult time, having lost, for those of us who are disciples, our spiritual master, for those of us who are God brothers and God sisters of Srila Gurudev, a great friend, a person who loved all of us so very much. And today he gave a class this morning that we broadcast over our system in Dallas. And it was a wonderful class. If any of you have not heard the class, let us know. We can send you the link, because it actually gave a class in such a nice way. It was almost like he was here today with us. And whatever we're confronting today as the opportunities in ISKCON and the challenges in ISKCON, he spoke about so nicely how to deal with these and how to take advantage of this great movement, which is just totally amazing. So before I say something about that, I also wanted to welcome Srila Sankarshan Das Adhikari Prabhu, who is a spiritual master, a very dear god brother of Srila Gurudev, and for us, a great mentor, a spiritual guide, a spiritual master, a Guru Maharaj for us. We thank you for being with us, and you will be asked to speak. Mother Nitik Shuri has already noted that, just so you know. I couldn't reply on chat because I got to start speaking. So, as we know, Srila Gurudev is a very, very loyal disciple and follower of Srila Prabhupada, a person that Srila Prabhupada himself pushed a lot to promote Krishna consciousness, and took that those instructions to heart and worked very hard to promote the mission. And so it is said that on the Disappearance Festival, the Tir Bhav Mahatithi of a spiritual master, the disciples should recommit themselves to the mission of the spiritual master. And Srila Gurudev's mission was Srila Prabhupada's mission. His mission was not different from Srila Prabhupada. Whatever Srila Prabhupada wanted, he wanted to push to the hilt. And Srila Prabhupada wanted a lot. So much so that he gave two options to us as followers. Either we can go to Mayapur and chant 24 hours a day, like Haridas Thakur did, or if you're not capable of doing that, then please promote this movement all over the world. Please promote Krishna consciousness with every breath of your person, and work very hard so that we're always Sankirtan conscious. And we're never ever Maya conscious. We're Sankirtan conscious. And so today, as disciples, especially as disciples, we have to recommit ourselves to this process. And as far as the Dallas temple is concerned, now that COVID is ramping down and we're able to now do things more and more in person as well, we're going to be reorganizing our programs so that we can take advantage of the new reality, which is that a lot of things are going to happen online as well. Prior to this, very few devotees, principally amongst them Sankarshan Prabhu, was doing things online, had nice, strong online presence. But the rest of us were very weak, pretty much. Some of us not, but most of us were very weak. As we see it now on the GBC side, because I represent the GBC for 7 states in the US. So on the GBC side, the understanding is now the majority of the preaching will be happening online into the future, even after COVID is over, because it just presents us so many wonderful opportunities to reach out to people because we can't be with them in person at any one particular time. But the temples will have to be reorganized in a way that that can happen, and many people can come to the temple and take advantage of the Sangha at the temple, which is why these temples were set up, so that there would be Sangha. And that in this Sangha, we can all chant, feast, and dance our way back to Godhead. So as far as Dallas is concerned, we can put the message out that that is going to happen. We are going to be reorganizing. We did start the reorganization process last year, but because of COVID and because we were a little understaffed because we couldn't bring people to the temple in the large numbers that we wanted to, we sort of like, in a sense, shelved the reorganization program, but now we will restart that again. So I want to thank all of you, whether you're in Dallas or wherever you are, for all of the love that you have shown to other devotees and to all of us, and the love that you've shown to whoever our spiritual masters are. Please feel encouraged. Please know that there is no better time than this to reach out to others and serve them in a way that we will become Krishna conscious and that we will encourage their Krishna consciousness as well. So I wanted to start with that and say thank you all very much for attending. And I'll pass the mic back to Mother Niti Kishori so that she can bring in the next speaker. Thank you so very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Gurudev ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Balaram Prasad Prabhu, if you can put it back to the temple again. Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So thank you everybody for attending this program. It's wonderful to see such a nice number of people on Zoom. Most of us will be right now listening on YouTube and through Temple Facebook. And there are a few devotees at the temple because it's pandemic. We didn't encourage many devotees to come to the temple. So this is why you see only a few people at the temple. This way we can do social distancing and take care of each other's health. So today is the 19th Tir Bhav Mahotsava for Srila Gurudev. This is the 19th anniversary of his departure, physical departure from this world, mortal departure from this world. And the next year we'll be celebrating the 20th, and that's going to be a much larger celebration where the whole world will come together. It so happened this year also that the timing in Dallas was a little different and Houston was a little different from the rest of the world. The rest of the world will be doing it on what is their Sunday, the 14th, but for us, the Tithi falls on today. This is why this has happened. And so, but we did send out the message to all over the world. If anybody would like to tune in, and I see
like we say, Srila Prabhupada was Shakti-Avesh avatar. And Prabhupada was empowered to spread this Krishna consciousness all over the world. Prabhupada mentions that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that only one who is empowered to preach Krishna consciousness can spread it all over the world. So to me, I was thinking, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he was also like Shakti-Avesh avatar, empowered follower of Srila Prabhupada. That everything he did was just so powerful, and he was empowered, like a perfect example of a Western follower that surrendered to Srila Prabhupada and fully surrendered to Srila Prabhupada and fully engaged himself in his mission. Of course, there were so many other wonderful devotees that were also empowered, but Srila Gurudev was especially empowered to serve Srila Prabhupada and to push his mission forward. So many things he did for Prabhupada's mission. He was the first one to distribute back to Godheads. He started the bus program, the Radha Damodar bus program. He opened so many temples, did so many projects, like this project in Dallas and Houston and so many others. He made so many devotees, and he was just such a powerful follower of Srila Prabhupada. And yeah, like Nityananda Prabhu was saying, we were listening to his class this morning, and he just knew how to apply Prabhupada's teachings to our everyday life. Everything he instructed us was so practical. And basically, you could see the essence of his teachings was to have strong sadhana and to spread Krishna consciousness. He said so many times, if you really want to please Krishna, you want to please Lord Chaitanya, then you have to help spread the Krishna consciousness movement. And you also have to be very strict in your sadhana. So I think it's really nice now that we're playing his classes sometimes here in the morning while we're not having the regular class. We're sometimes playing Srila Gurudev, and you can just hear how practical his classes were and how we can make advancement in Krishna consciousness. And well, we could see in this project what he did. He just wanted to make such a nice facility that people would come and they would be attracted to Krishna consciousness. He designed this beautiful temple room with so many beautiful things in it, and the restaurant. So this was all designed as a preaching program, the restaurant, the temple room, so we could attract people and that they could come and become devotees. This was his whole focus. And we can see how important it is. We almost, recently we lost it. For 1 year, we didn't have a morning program. We couldn't come to the temple. And then now we're coming back, it's such a wonderful experience coming to the temple in the morning and seeing the deities and chanting the holy names and congregating together. I know myself personally, I'm just realizing what a wonderful gift it is, and that we really have to take advantage of it. Not bragging, but one morning there were five Srila Prabhupada disciples there for Mangalartik. Why is that? Because Srila Prabhupada trained us. He said, you have to get up in the morning and you have to rise early and you have to come to Mangalartik. And as Srila Gurudev said, Prabhupada was black and white. There was no in between. So that was Prabhupada's instruction. And somehow or other, by his mercy, we're still trying to do that. So, and Gurudev said himself in this class, the more you follow the spiritual master, the more mercy that you will get. And he said that's why he became such a good devotee, because he tried to please Srila Prabhupada. That was his only mission in life, was to please Srila Prabhupada. Like when Prabhupada asked him to go to China, at first he didn't want to do it, and then finally he just surrendered and he said, Prabhupada, my only goal in life is to please you. So that he taught us that wonderful example, and it really works. And Srila Prabhupada also said that he never felt like he was separated from his spiritual master, because he was following the orders of his spiritual master. Prabhupada said, I never feel apart from my spiritual master. So we can always feel Srila Gurudev's presence also. The more we follow his instructions, whatever he told us, then the more we'll feel his presence. So that was his focus, sadhana and preaching. And he gave us that gift of being a strong follower of his spiritual master, and instructing us how we could come to the highest level, to the level of Krishna Prema. So I feel very much grateful to him for his teachings, and I hope I can fully imbibe his instructions and help him in his mission to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere. Jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you, Chakravu. We will have His Grace Sankarshan Prabhu speaking next, and then we will have a few more devotees here in the temple room, and we'll alternate like that. So Sankarshan Prabhu, if you could go ahead and unmute and speak with us.
Can you hear me now? Okay, good. Yeah, it's my great joy and happiness to be able to participate in this wonderful, wonderful celebration. I know Tamal Krishna Goswami is very, very dear to me. I remember, of course, I was attracted to join this movement by his very close friend and godbrother, Vishnu Jan Swami. They were very close. So I had, through Vishnu Jan Swami, I had a connection with Tamal from the very beginning. But then I never really had any association. But then in about 1978, Tamal Krishna Goswami was given the opportunity to create the Midwest zone, Houston, Dallas, St. Louis, Chicago, like that. And at that time, Houston was part of the Balavana Prabhu zone, and I was serving in the Houston temple. So we had a choice, everybody in Houston had a choice to go back to Balavanta zone or to stay and be part of Tamal Krishna Goswami zone. And I decided I wanted to go with Tamal Krishna Goswami. It was a very smart move, actually. I was sent from Houston up to Dallas, and eventually I became in charge of his tape ministry. That was a very exciting service. I'd make all the tapes of his lectures, I'd record them, put a little announcement on them, and distribute them. He was very pleased with my service. I remember one year, nobody in the whole temple got to go to the Mayapur festival. He let me go to the Mayapur festival. He really appreciated my service. And then later on, of course, he arranged a marriage with one of his very, very wonderful disciples, Vishnu Priya Devi Dasi. And we got the most amazing mercy of all. We got his personal deities, Sri Sri Radha Damodar, in which I'm worshiping every day in the evening. I put them in their evening clothes and dress them. Plus his personal Prabhupada deity also. I feel such a connection with him, serving his personal deities every day, and remembering him and praying to him sometimes, asking for his blessings. It's such a great, great personality. I just hope that I always hope that he's smiling upon me from the spiritual world. I'm trying to do things that will very much please him and get his blessings, because we need the blessings of these great personalities. Here we are, struggling souls, suffering like anything in the modes of material nature, you see. But these great personalities, their blessings help to uplift us from the entanglement, from the hellish nightmare of material existence. These blessings allow us to actually enter that sublime realm of Krishna consciousness, where we can, we can always think about Krishna, we can talk about Krishna, we can remember Krishna, we can serve Krishna. So what more I can say? I'm eternally indebted to him, and I pray for his blessings, that I can serve his deities perfectly and take very good care of his disciple, also serve his disciple, my beloved wife, very perfectly for his pleasure. And that, so let us all work together as a team, as Tamal Krishna Goswami would want to. I want us to let us all work together cooperatively now to carry out Prabhupada's order. Prabhupada gave us this order in Los Angeles. He said, become perfect and understand the science of Krishna, become Guru and deliver the whole world. So we have this world deliverance mission that Tamal Krishna Goswami was a very powerful leader for this world deliverance mission. We have to take his mood of pushing for this movement to make the whole world Krishna conscious. Let's keep this mood burning in our hearts. This will please Prabhupada, it will please Tamal Krishna Goswami. Let's push for this movement and now make the whole world Krishna conscious as soon as possible. Thank you all very much for allowing me to speak a few words. Hare Krishna.
Next, we will have His Grace Mathuranath Prabhu, Mahari Prabhu, and Kartikeya Prabhu in that order. And then we'll hear from more devotees online. And in about 15 minutes, we will have His Holiness Giriraj Swami.
Hare Krishna. So we decided that the theme of this particular Disappearance Festival would be that Srila Gurudev's mission and how we can actually try to assist him in this mission. So the other day I was listening to Chaitanya Prabhu. He was giving class, and in his class he said that everything that Srila Gurudev did was to push on preaching, was to forward preaching. And we can see that everything that Srila Gurudev did was to please Srila Prabhupada, and it was to push on this movement. And it seems that, I've heard people say this, that actually Srila Gurudev was actually pretty much always 2 steps ahead of the movement in his thinking. And some examples are when he took the householders, had them move out of the temples. And when he took us out of the airports because of the reputation we were getting. So many instances where he would do something and almost be criticized, but all of a sudden the movement would catch up with him, And it's said that in order to be able to really accomplish something, you got to think out of the box. You got to get out of your comfort zone. So Srila Gurudev never had a comfort zone. He was always pushing himself and others around him to push on this Krishna consciousness and to try to give it to as many people as possible. And I was just remembering that just like when he went back to college, the whole reason he went back to college was because, it says in the Bhagavad Gita, what great men do, other men follow. So that was his whole goal, was to try to preach to the leaders, and then the people would take up Krishna consciousness, hopefully. And Srila Gurudev, when he went back to college, he was telling me that was probably the hardest thing he's ever done in his life. He said, I have to read these nonsense books, all this impersonalism, and I have to try to take that and dovetail that somehow to Krishna consciousness. And many nights I would go up and be with him to get him ready to take rest. And he would be sitting at his desk studying. It'd be like 10 o'clock, 10:30. And so when I would come up, he would go, oh, no, it's time again, and he was sitting there doing what you call his homework. But he didn't like it when I'd come up, because it was always, he had to stop studying, had to stop doing his service. And so tomorrow we changed from daylight savings time. We jump ahead an hour, but this was fall of the year. I went up there one night, and he was sitting there. It was like 10 o'clock. And he said, oh, no, is it that time again? I said, well, actually, Srila Gurudev, it's 9 o'clock now, because we just changed daylight savings back. And he was so happy that he got up and he gave me a big hug and said, thank you, Maternath. And I thought, well, I didn't start that. I didn't come up with this whole thing, but I'll definitely take the hug. So he was just so happy that he actually had an extra hour that he could, continue in his studies and doing his service to Srila Prabhupada. And another thing and as disciples, I was thinking that something that we can learn from him is that we have to ourselves get out of the comfort zone. It was pretty easy to get in a comfort zone during this COVID thing, because we all kind of got lazy, I guess. So, but we have to try to follow in Srila Gurudev's footsteps and try to push ourselves and think, and I'm preaching to the choir here for sure, and think about ways that we can actually try to push on this Krishna conscious movement and assist Srila Gurudev and continue, pushing the preaching. And another thing I was remembering was that Srila Gurudev was how much he loved being with his God brothers. He loved having an association of his God brothers. Because usually he was surrounded by his disciples, and he loved his disciples. At night he would ask me sometimes, how is so-and-so doing? How's this person doing? And even when he was having his operations, I'd be taking him back and forth to the doctor or the hospital, and he would be asking me, how are my disciples doing? How are they taking this? He was the one getting operated on, and he was worried about us. He was so worried about his disciples. But he loved getting the association of his God brothers. He loved being with them. And I think, again, we can learn from this that, I was just looking on the internet the other day, and it says there's about 8 billion people in this world. And I was thinking how fortunate we are that somehow we came to actually, meet a guru and be able to actually get instructions from him and take up this Krishna consciousness movement. And so I think as one lesson, another lesson we can learn is that we should always love and respect each other. And we're going to have our little arguments and disagreements, but we should just let those roll off and just try to, help each other in their Krishna consciousness and cooperate. Cooperation is such an important thing. So I think that this is a lesson that we can learn that, we have to help each other. We're so fortunate to have each other and have this community. And I was thinking that by doing that, then we can live in what Srila Gurudev, he loved the word harmony. We had a contest one time to see who could name the farm. And nobody got it, but he was going to call it harmony because he loved that word because he said it had Hari in there. So by doing this, by cooperating with each other, we can live in harmony and try to follow in the footsteps of Srila Gurudev and try to push on this movement. So, Jai. Srila Gurudev ki Jai. Jai.
Thank you, Maturana Prabhu. Mahari Prabhu, would you please?
Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurudev Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Tamal Krishna Goswami Iti Namane. So, and when I was listening to the lecture this morning, actually, first I was going to say, you said you got a hug from Gurudev. That, I think that's very special. Not everybody got. I got a slap on the shoulder one time, but I didn't get a hug. I was listening to the lecture this morning, and at one point he was speaking how, and I've been listening to lectures like the last several days, and so I'm thinking of different things that I heard him say, and I may be mixing it up from what lecture it actually came from. I think it was this morning. But he was saying how the spiritual master is not only the physical person that's sitting in front of you. He's also, the energy of Lord Nityananda, who's the original spiritual master, or Lord Balaram, is also coming through him. He's like simultaneously both. He's the person, the spiritual master, but he's also an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the servitor incarnation. So, so I was thinking, maybe some examples in my own experience, my own life, where I actually saw that. I think there were many, and if I really thought about it, I could think of a lot of them, but it's two really are prominent in my mind. So one of them was shortly after he left. And at that time in my life, my spiritual life was at a low point. I had gotten, involved in a business, and it wasn't so good for me, and it was just really difficult, demanding type of business, and so I just became very dissatisfied, with my situation, and it went on for years like that, and until finally I saw a way out. And so I was in a time where, I was making big changes in my life, and so what happened was, I was at that point, I had such strong feelings because of, everything that, I just wanted to annihilate the whole thing, just set a torch to it. My wife wasn't exactly in the same mood that I was, though, and so she was being just, it was a bumpy ride for her, I just wanted to get rid of everything and just yeah, just get rid of it and go to India. That was like my idea, you know. But anyway, I found a kind of an in-between way, and we ended up meeting this devotee from the East Coast, and he was doing the same business that I had been in, which was art. But he was very successful at it, so I did shut down everything. I sold my house, got rid of everything, and then I went to work for him. But he was in a beach town in Delaware, and so his business was very busy in the summer, and then in the winter everything died way off because it was tourists and it got cold in the wintertime. So I was going to work for him in the summer, and then I was going to go to India in the winter. So that's what I did. It turned out to be just kind of like a stepping stone for where I would end up, which was here. But, so it lasted I only did it that one year. But, so going to India, I was going to Vrindavan, and I knew from experience that you can't just go to Vrindavan and just hang out. It doesn't work. Vrindavan is a very intense place. And, you can't just go there and hang out. I mean, maybe some people can, but I had to have a really, a serious kind of program to follow. And so I had several goals in mind, like what I wanted to do when I was there, things I wanted to accomplish, things that I wanted to change. And one of them was kind of a question, and it was a little bit like in the back of my mind. I mean, I thought about it, but I mean, it was kind of in the back of my mind. It wasn't. Anyway, the question was, I was at a point in my life where I really wanted to make. I was desperate actually to make changes, and I knew that if Gurudev had been present then, and I was in that mood and feeling like that, I know exactly what would have happened. I would have called him or contacted him in some way, and he would immediately said, come to where I am, wherever that was. I know that's what would have happened. And he would have told me exactly what to do. He would have outlined it completely. He would, he would have took charge and just told me exactly what to do. And I would have only had to follow his instructions. And I also remembered hearing, and I knew it just from our philosophy, that the spiritual master is not, or the relationship, the connection between the disciple and the spiritual master is not limited by physical things. I even remember hearing Gurudev directly say it in one lecture where he said, the spiritual master will find a way to instruct you, to contact you, to instruct you. So I was thinking that, well, if he was here, I would get direct instruction from him, and it's not supposed to be limited by physical things, so how do I get instruction from him now? Why? I mean, it seems to be inhibited, or there seems to be an obstacle, because, if he was here, he would tell me exactly what to do. So anyway, I was thinking like that. And so I went to India, and I happened to get an opportunity to go to something that's called the Govardhan Retreat. It's put on by Burijan Prabhu and His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj. It's actually, there's two things. There's the Japa retreat, which they do in Barshana, which lasts 5 days. Then there's 5 days in between. And then the Govardhan retreat, which they do at Govardhan. And the Japa retreat, of course, is all about the holy names. But the Govardhan retreat is, it's just like kata. This senior person's there, they come up with a particular theme that they want to discuss, or, you know, a particular subject, or, you know, it could be anything. And then, you know, for 5 days, they have, it's not exactly a seminar, it's, not sure what you would call it, it's kind of in between like a seminar and just a regular class. So I got to go to this, and you know, it's just right there, right next to Govardhan, and they have like these blankets, Indian blankets all set up, and they have a big tent, and it's a really wonderful atmosphere. And so I hadn't experienced anything like that. Maybe not quite like that ever, but definitely not in a long time. And it was amazing. I mean, you know, just sitting and listening to, and it just, everything there was saying, that they were saying, was exactly what I needed to hear. It was as if they just understood every doubt in my mind, every problem I had, and every struggle that I had to go through. They just understood it, and they were directly addressing those things. The experience was just really like moving and intense. And so, and I really, what's the word, like, was very attracted to the style of His Holiness Sachinanda Maharaj. Burijan, I mean, both of them, but something also about Sachinanda Maharaj really appealed to me. And so at the end of his presentation, something happened. And like I said, I was really moved by the whole experience. And the very end, he called for questions, and I wanted to ask a question. And it was, let's see, I mean, I really wanted to ask that question. It was as if every cell in my body wanted to ask this question, because I was just in a very moved state, you know. And so in that state, I got my opportunity to ask this question. And the question itself was a pretty decent question. Sometimes, you know, you ask, maybe, you know, you have the experience where you, or sometimes maybe you don't even want to ask a question because you're afraid it's not a good question, you know. But sometimes you ask a good question and you get a really good response from the speaker, and you know, that's a very nice exchange. So it was a decent question, but it wasn't really at all. What happened wasn't about the question itself. It was about something else. So, like I said, when I asked the question, it was as if every cell in my body wanted to ask that question, but also absorb the answer. Like I felt that that answer would be so important that from that point on, my life would be different. It would be changed in somehow from hearing that answer. And so, like I said, it wasn't about the question, but it was about the feeling I had. So what happened was I immediately recognized that that was the same feeling that I had before. And it was when I first met Gurudev, and I was sitting in front of him and I asked a question. It was the same feeling. And so that experience was like intense. I mean, it was so intense that I felt kind of discombobulated, almost like, you know, a little dizzy or something, because it was such a powerful feeling. And not only the feeling, but I knew exactly what it was. I knew it was the answer to the question that I had in my mind. about how the Guru would instruct you, and still, not be limited by anything physical. Hey, finish up real quick? Okay, I'm just now getting to the end. So, the answer that he was giving me was that the main way through which you're going to be able to contact me and have my association and even get instructions is through my God brothers. And anyway, it was right after that I contacted Giriraj Maharaj after I got back from India. It was a short time after I contacted Giriraj Maharaj. And I went to Dallas to meet him, and we had talks, and then I went to Carpinteria, and I was his servant for some time. And I could elaborate because it's also could be a little tricky. I think it has to be the right person also. I mean, of course, all his God brothers, they're all disciples of Srila Prabhupada. They have that connection, but it also has to be someone who was close to your Guru and has maybe a similar mood in a similar way. Anyway, so I'll stop here. So, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna, we will have His Holiness Giriraj Swami right now speaking online. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. It is a great honor and pleasure and privilege to be with all of you on this auspicious occasion. As Srila Prabhupada said on his Guru Maharaj's disappearance day in Surat, India, that for a Vaishnav, appearance and disappearance are the same. Both are beautiful, just like the sunrise and the sunset. Both are beautiful. To begin, I would like to share my reflections on Srila Gurudev, Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, as the older brother. Tamal Krishna Goswami played the role of the older brother to many God brothers and God sisters in ISKCON, and he played it exceedingly well. He was loving, caring, expert, and resourceful in many, many ways. He could give expert advice and practical support on the physical plane, medical, architectural, financial, on the emotional plane, psychological, social, marital, and on the spiritual plane, chanting japa, singing bhajan and kirtan, studying and teaching shastra, associating with devotees, worshiping deities, going on parikrama, preaching, distributing books, writing books, engaging different kinds of people, and so much more. As our older brother, he reminds me of Lord Balaram, Krishna's elder brother. Lord Balaram's desire to serve Krishna was so strong that he served him in all 5 rasas or mellows: Shanta, peaceful; Dasya, as a servant; Sakya, friendly; Vatsalya, parental; and even Madhurya, conjugal, by expanding himself as a Nangamanjari, Srimati Radharani's younger sister. And Tamal Krishna Goswami's service continues. His example and advice constantly guide me in my service to Srila Prabhupada, my spiritual father. Similar to how I think, what would Srila Prabhupada want me to do? I also think, what would Tamal Krishna Goswami say or do in this situation? Almost all of my closest friends were close friends of his, and our common history of association with and service to our older brother, and our common love for him and commitment to his ideals and projects and people make our relationships with one another even deeper and sweeter. And here I think of my dear God brothers who, along with me, are spiritual advisors for Texas. His Holiness Giridhari Swami, His Holiness Keshava Bharati Das Goswami, and His Holiness Ritadvaja Swami. And Tamal Krishna Goswami's disciples have been taught by him to respect his god brothers and god sisters as they respected him. And many serve and assist senior devotees most expertly, reflecting his good training and example. Everywhere I look in my life, I see him. He is present in every place I visit or stay, in every word I speak or write, in every thought and emotion and desire I have in Krishna consciousness. He is an older brother like no other. That is, unless we extend the search to the spiritual world, to Lord Balaram and Lord Nityananda. But how can we appreciate them? Lord Balaram and Lord Nityananda manifest their power and mercy in Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada invested it in his loyal, expert servant, our older brother and friend, Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. So I'm not sure how much time I have because I could go on. Who will answer that question?
You have till 11:45, Maharaj. So you have about 16 minutes.
Oh, great. Okay. Then I will, I'll relate an incident that took place with Tamal Krishna Goswami and me in Srila Prabhupada's presence. This took place in April of 1977, so sort of towards the end of Srila Prabhupada's physical presence with us. And so on April 13th, I went up to Prabhupada's quarters to see Tamal Krishna Goswami. We were always mindful not to disturb Srila Prabhupada, so we met in the furthest outside room where Tamal Krishna Goswami, as secretary, had his desk. And we spoke in whispers with two sets of closed doors between us and Srila Prabhupada. Goswami Maharaj greeted me with a warm embrace and then asked me to go to the bank to make a deposit. I hesitated. I'm the temple president, I thought. I have so much important work to do that nobody else can do. Why me? Why do I have to go to the bank? Anyone can go to the bank and make a deposit. So I told Tamal Krishna Goswami, there are so many devotees who can make a bank deposit, but there are many things that only I can do. So better I do those things and let someone else make the deposit. Perhaps on some deeper level, based on envy and false ego, I might have been considering, who are you to tell me to go to the bank? Anyway, we were discussing it all in hushed tones so as not to disturb Srila Prabhupada. Suddenly, Prabhupada's bell rang, and Tamal Krishna and I raced around the outside hallway to his room. Especially then, because Srila Prabhupada was so ill, it was a rare treat to be summoned into Prabhupada's presence. Then Prabhupada spoke to me straight away. Now you have so many things to do, he said. And he chuckled as he said it. Again, another burden. You have to do all these things. So how is your preaching? I wasn't sure exactly what he meant, but he knew that I sometimes felt burdened by management and preferred to preach. I gave him a report about our recent preaching successes, and he spoke about the mood of a Vaishnav and the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Quote, if one does not present Bhagavad Gita as it is, then where is the authority? And then, apparently to illustrate his point, he said, if I say, Giriraj, you go there to the bank, and you say, no, I cannot do this, I can only do that, then where is my authority? Then he laughed. Just see. I didn't think Prabhupada could possibly have heard my exchange with Tamal Krishna Goswami. We had been separated by a room and two closed doors. Krishna, I thought, must have inspired Prabhupada from within. And further, he had pointed out a defect in my mentality, that I was seeing Tamal Krishna Goswami as independent of him, thinking he was just my god brother, and that I should have seen him as Prabhupada's representative, that it was Prabhupada's order coming to me through him. I thought of Prabhupada's opening words. Now you have to do so many things. Again, another burden. You have to do all these things. He had spoken with emphasis. You have to do all these things. And I understood that if I saw the service as coming from Prabhupada, I wouldn't feel it to be a burden. So anyway, so many fond memories of Tamal Krishna Goswami, whom I miss very dearly. But I was pleased to hear Mahari Prabhu's talk, and something that he said in his talk, or it might have been one of the main points in his talk, reminded me of a statement of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which I will try to find quickly, which I think I should be able to. Yes, I found it. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur stated, "My Gurudev is residing in many different personalities. If he does not reside in many different personalities, then who will protect me? Those whom my Gurudev considered close to him are my saviors. But I hope I never have to see the face of such evil-doing rascals, as those who have criticized the lotus feet of my Gurudev, or those who have somehow supported such criticism." So, yeah, it's been an honor and a pleasure to be able to serve Tamal Krishna Goswami by helping take care of his disciples. In fact, as many of you know, my main interest when I come to Texas is Tamal Krishna Goswami's disciples. And one thing that just comes to mind now, although I touched on it when I was speaking about him as the older brother, is japa. He placed great emphasis on japa. And in fact, I wouldn't say I compiled it. It might have been his disciple Agabit Prabhu in Kolkata, who compiled a list of his instructions on japa. But they're very powerful. And of course, he himself was a very serious chanter of japa. And he was serious in all of his spiritual activities. One thing I remembered from those instructions on japa was that Tamal Krishna Goswami wanted mothers of newborn children, of babies, to chant their rounds. He said, that, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but something like, even if they're not the best, but still, they should chant their rounds. And I'm going to see if I can find that. It's so instructive. Oh. I don't think I'll be able to immediately. Anyway, I think you understand how important it is. And I remember in the old days in the Dallas temple when Tamal Krishna Goswami was present during japa after Mangalarti. The mood in the temple room was intense. It was just surcharged with spiritual energy of devotees generally walking around the temple room and chanting japa. And I think that would be a very nice service to offer to Tamal Krishna Goswami on this occasion. I mean, or to resolve to offer on this occasion, and then to do throughout the rest of our lives, and that is to chant good, attentive japa. Some other things about Tamal Krishna Goswami that struck me from Dallas was how he would, when he left the temple, he would circumambulate the temple building out of respect for Srila Prabhupada and the deities. And I think that he would personally put the deity of Srila Prabhupada to rest at night and wake him up in the morning. So yeah, he was so attached to Srila Prabhupada. His whole life was Srila Prabhupada. And in a way, I can't think of I definitely can't think of Tamal Krishna Goswami without thinking of Srila Prabhupada. And to a large extent, I can't think of Srila Prabhupada without thinking of Tamal Krishna Goswami. And another lesson I learned from him, or I'm trying to learn, is that we have to take care of ourselves. He was, I think you could say he was quite particular about his prasadam. And, but the result was that, he didn't fall sick, And I remember there was one day here in Carpinteria, I wasn't feeling quite right within myself. And so I went to the beach to chant. And while I was there, I thought of Tamal Krishna Goswami, how to help others, you also have to take care of yourself. It's like in the flights, they announce, if there's a reduction in air pressure, a mask will drop down that provides oxygen, and they say you should fix the mask on yourself before attempting to help others, because if you don't survive, you're not going to be able to help anyone else. So I think Tamal Krishna Goswami showed that. And it's an important lesson for us that to take care of others, we also have to take care of ourselves. And yeah, but he was really, I mean, I say disciples, is really very personally involved in the lives of his disciples. And he was so expert in every way that he could give them expert counsel in so many different areas. And he, I mean, it's sad, but in a way it's his mercy that he has left us with service. Our godbrother Burijan Prabhu, who was, very dear to Tamal Krishna Goswami, and to whom Tamal Krishna Goswami was very dear, he commented that that Tamal Krishna Goswami had given Giridhari Swami the Orient. He had given Keshava Bharati Das Goswami the Bhaktivedanta ashram at Govardhan. And he had given Ritatvija Swami and me Texas. So, yeah, it's certainly a great gift of his. Gift of service, of course, not to enjoy or exploit, but a great gift of service. And yeah, on this occasion, I rededicate myself to the service of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami and all of you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so very much, Maharaj. It was so nice. It's always when your presence is with us, we feel the presence of Gurudev so much. How many times we've heard that you are the same soul but two different bodies.
Yeah, he said that.
Thank you so very much. We really appreciate you giving us this time, Maharaj. And now I'm going to ask Jeshu Radhe to speak. And after that, Bhakti Ghosh Prabhu has also joined us. So we would like to hear from him as well after that.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jeshu Radhe Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you, yes.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Tamal Krishna Goswami Iti Namo. When I learned that our topic for today, our theme for today was glorifying Srila Gurudev's service and sharing our commitment to his service, I thought this is very appropriate because that was along the lines of what I was already thinking for my offering. As many of you know, recently, about a month ago, we had some really severe weather here in Texas. And along with that severe weather, we also had no power. So I was sitting in my house. It was really cold. It was 30 degrees outside. It was 0 degrees outside. It was 30 degrees in my house. And I've never been so miserable in my life before. And I thought, this is horrible. Like, am I gonna live? Is this gonna be it? Is this, I'm gonna be here all by myself in the dark, in the cold, and just suffering. I had devotees reach out to me, Gurudev's disciples, Gurudev's godbrothers, Tattvaja Swami, tried to keep my spirits up, texting me, reminding me that in the Bhagavad Gita it says happiness, distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. But at that moment, I wasn't hearing any of that. I was so caught up in my own suffering that I wasn't thinking about the larger picture. I wasn't thinking about that so many people do not realize that this suffering is temporary, that it's really just our choice, because pain is essential, suffering is optional. And I was thinking, what if I mean, I kind of knew that I wasn't going to die because I'm pretty healthy and, you know, it's just a couple of days of cold. But I was thinking, what if this was the end for me? And I've never made a difference. I've never done anything to further Srila Gurudev's mission, to further his commitment to Srila Prabhupada. And I've been blessed with so many skills and talents to do so, right? I have intelligence, I have knowledge, I have ability to speak in public, I have the ability to inspire people. And all of these are gifts from Krishna in order that I can perform my service to him. And yet I don't fully commit. I let my doubts and fears and self-limiting beliefs get in the way of serving others in the way I know I'm meant to. Srila Gurudev always encouraged me to speak in public. He encouraged me to focus on prevention and keeping people healthy rather than treating disease. And it always seemed that, you know, Srila Gurudev was always confident. He was always bold. He never seemed to have any doubts or fears. And if he did, he let his mission to serve Srila Prabhupada be stronger than any doubts or fears that he had. And I think about that because that is such a powerful way to live, to not let our own fears and self-doubts and the beliefs that we've been taught that limit us from fully reaching our potential to serve Krishna. And I was also thinking that not using these gifts that Krishna has given me is an insult to Krishna. It's saying that I'm keeping these things to myself and I'm not using them in your service. The Bhagavad Gita says the highest benefit comes from serving one another. And one who enjoys their gifts without giving in return is a thief. And certainly I have been living as a thief. So my commitment on this auspicious occasion of the 19th anniversary of Tamal Krishna Goswami's disappearance is to stop being a thief and to stop letting my doubts and fears rob me of serving others. To serve Tamal Krishna Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, and Lord Chaitanya's mission in the way that I am meant to, given all of my gifts from Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so very much, Yeshua Prabhu. Very nice. Mother Nitishwari, can you take over? And I don't see Basugosh Prabhu's name on my list here, on the chat list. I mean, in the participants list. Maybe they're under a different name. Basugosh Prabhu, if you're there, can you unmute? Nitikishwari Prabhu, can you see if you can do this? Because there's time delay between me speaking and you speaking. There she is.
Anyone else here who wanted to speak before we head outside for Guru Puja, please let me know. Otherwise, after Basugosh Prabhu, we will be, okay, Mr. Bhagavan Prabhu, after that, we will be heading out to Samadhi to perform Srila Gurudev's Guru Puja. As soon as we're done here, and then after that, around 1 p.m., the prasadam will be served at the temple. Hare Krishna.
A lot of people won't see.
We can move your phone.
I'll move it. I can remove this, I guess. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I was not on your list, as somebody just said, and just showed up. I'll speak a little about Maharaj. My association with him was not I never worked with him on a day-to-day basis. And so my meetings with him were few and far between. First time I saw him was at Juhu Temple when I arrived in India in February 1974. He was the GBC for India. And of course, that means he was the top official. And I heard another sannyasi, whose name I won't mention because he's no longer in ISKCON, talking with Maharaj about traveling in South India and preaching. And that sannyasi was traveling with another god brother who's now in Alachua, Achyutananda. And that attracted me to want to join that group. And from Bombay, we went to my Prabhupada. I had never seen Prabhupada, actually, till I reached Juhu. And he reached there the next day. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was there. Then I had already been initiated by letter. Anyway, we all went to Mayapur. That's when the first volume of Chaitanya Charitamrita was released. I don't know how many of you saw the big yellow Adi Leela Volume 2. Prabhupada was lecturing on Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I went to Achyutananda, asked him if I could join his traveling party. He said he would speak with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And you don't have to talk to him, he told me, but I went to Tamal Krishna Maharaj anyway. And he said, yes, he already spoke to me and you can go. So my experience from that first meeting with Maharaj was, he was always kind to me. And I always had that friendly relation with him. When Prabhupada disappeared, I'm jumping a long way. I can't remember if Tamal Krishna Maharaj came to Madras in Chennai, January 1st and 2nd, Prabhupada's lectures. I kind of remember him being in the picture. There's a picture of myself, Prabhupada, and I think Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So later on, I think the last time I saw Prabhupada was in Juhu, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj opened the door this much, and I could see Prabhupada he had really deteriorated physically. And due to circumstances, I didn't go to the Kumbh Mela, I didn't come to Vrindavan. During Prabhupada's last days, I was in Hyderabad. It was a new temple. I was one of the chief fundraisers, so, they didn't want me to go anywhere. But when Prabhupada disappeared, 4 of us jumped in a car and drove 30 hours to Vrindavan. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was the master of ceremonies. Everybody was remembering Prabhupada, and he would call on the speakers. So he gave me a chance to speak. Wow, later on, I would meet him in different places. During the time of Prabhupada, I was in Hyderabad, and after Prabhupada, for a year, I remained in Hyderabad, then came to Gujarat, Ahmedabad. And after 5 years, I settled in Baroda. And it was sometime in the 1980s, I can't remember exactly when, Tamal Krishna Maharaj started visiting Baroda. He visited 2 or 3 times to meet an architect who they commissioned to make a design for the Mayapur Grand Temple, which now Ambarish Prabhu is building, and Ambarish Prabhu and the team. Needless to say, that design was rejected, which was a good thing because the design was horrible. But because he was coming, I could get some association with him. And then at the end, I was in England, and I visited in 2001 Oxford, where they had started this Oxford Center of Hindu Studies, and Maharaj was in Cambridge, and he called from Cambridge to Oxford to speak with Krishna Kshetra Maharaj at the time, Prabhu. And I picked up the phone, and then we had a conversation for some time. So I used to meet him here and there, Juhu, Mayapur. 1993, we went on Navadvip Parikrama with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So that's very memorable. 7 days, Navadvip Mandal Parikrama. I remember Bali Mardan of, BBT trustee in New York. He came on that parikrama. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was there. So we had some intimate association. Many years ago, a godbrother of Prabhupada, who none of you have heard of, and he didn't speak English. He was Uriya, and he spoke Hindi, Uriya, Bengali. And he told me that we should have glorified our godbrothers more. And I'll always remember that, because Prabhupada didn't get a lot of recognition from his godbrothers. So this godbrother was much junior in age, and he was a very nice devotee. He passed away in 1994 at the age of 76 or 77, so he's long gone. But his words I still remember. And if I may, I don't know how much time I have, but the service that Tamal Krishna Maharaj rendered to ISKCON is extraordinary. It was wonderful, it was glorious, and, he did many remarkable things, especially in book distribution here in the United States in the Radha Damodar party, which I think Mishra Bhagawan was a part of. I don't know, Pita, were you in the Radha Damodar party? I was not, but from a distance, being in India, we heard about the glories of the party. And it was part of the Hare Krishna explosion of the 1970s. And I guess you can say Tamal Krishna Maharaj laid the foundation for ISKCON in India. He was one of the pioneers. Prabhupada said something like, my Guru Maharaj wanted to preach in English, but we all know that Prabhupada spent half of his time and most of his money in India. and Mayapur, Vrindavan, and Juhu. Juhu was his office, Vrindavan his home, and Mayapur his place of worship, he used to say. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj, anybody who was around in those days would have seen how Prabhupada had more trust in Tamal Krishna Maharaj, more faith in him than any of his other disciples. It's a fact that struck me from a distance. He kept him as his secretary in the end, and he trusted him with all of his affairs while he was, winding down his physical presence. One thing that Prabhupada did that I hope we all learn, and it's 42 years later, was how to delegate authority and how to, Prabhupada was not and, I've got to be in the chair. He knew he had limited time, and boy, Tamal Krishna Maharaj has been gone for 19 years. I can't believe it. It was a great tragedy, but it's the will of the Lord, and so we accept it. And as Giriraj Swami just spoke, we miss him every day. He did so much, we can never do, probably, what Tamal Krishna Maharaj did for this institution and for fulfilling the desires of Srila Prabhupada in so many ways. And then, of course, the loving chastisement that he received was another remarkable milestone. China, Prabhupada sent him to China, and China is a vast, treasure house of preaching, and thousands of people are joining there. And I forgot to mention that Tamal Krishna Maharaj was so kind to me, and I was able to observe his Vyas Puja in his presence in Hong Kong back in 1996. And if it wasn't for his mercy, I wouldn't have been able to raise funds for our small project in India, in Hong Kong. And he told me, why don't you go back? So he opened the door and kept it open. I'm a little old now for doing that, and we don't need that anymore. For anybody who's going to whisper into the ear of a certain Swami who's connected to Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who wasn't so welcoming, but Tamal Krishna Maharaj was totally welcoming. So I always had that friendship with him, and I'll never forget that. And I guess I can wind up because I don't, I don't want to take too much time. But what can I say? Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vasudev Ghosh Prabhu, for speaking, and thank you for visiting with us. I said many valuable things, but for lack of time, we'll move on. We'll have His Grace Mishra Bhagavan Prabhu and Pizza Prabhu, and then we will be heading out in about hopefully 10 minutes or so to do the Guru Puja outside. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpatubhishya Kripasindevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavevo Namo Namaha. In 1967, in Berkeley, California, the devotees had just opened a temple in San Francisco, and to preach to the university students, they rented a hall in Berkeley with 300 seats, and only about 10 people came. So it didn't seem like a great success. The devotees were a little disappointed. Prabhupada said, you should have charged something. But just out of those small handful of people that came to that program, one of them was asked the question to Srila Prabhupada. When Prabhupada asked if there was any questions, he said that what happens if you take up this process of Krishna consciousness and you're not able to finish it, would that be considered just a waste of your time? And Prabhupada answered, because this is actually one of the questions that Arjuna asked Krishna. So Prabhupada answered how there's no loss of diminution once you begin this devotional service. That Krishna will always remember anything you do, and it'll always just increase. So after the program, Srila Prabhupada mentioned to the devotees that boy who asked the question was a very intelligent question. And Prabhupada was impressed that the first time he saw this person, he saw him, that he asked a question actually that Arjuna asked from the Bhagavad Gita. He thought that was very intelligent, and that person who asked the question, of course, was Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami very soon became Prabhupada's disciple after that, because he went to the temple and joined there. And then Prabhupada engaged him, this really intelligent, capable person, in opening up the temple in Los Angeles and becoming the Sankirtan leader of ISKCON in 1968. With that responsibility, Tamal Krishna Goswami went to England, and wherever he went, he did Sankirtan, chanting the Hare Krishna, printing books, distributing Prabhupada's books. And then in 1971, all the devotees, Prabhupada had a World Sankirtan party that traveled around India, and Tamal Krishna Goswami was on that. And he became Prabhupada's secretary. And they had this relationship like Sarup Damodar and Lord Chaitanya. Sarup Damodar Goswami was Lord Chaitanya's personal servant. He would protect the Lord Mahaprabhu from any kind of bodily harm or from any disturbance, or if somebody wanted to see Lord Chaitanya to speak with him, then they would have to go through the secretary of Sarup Damodar. So Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami was that secretary to Srila Prabhupada. In 1975, in February, we went to Atlanta, Georgia to meet Srila Prabhupada, and I could see, that was when I got to see Srila Prabhupada and Tamal Krishna Goswami together. And I could understand that they had a very a very special relationship. Like Bhasha Ghosh said, Prabhupada seemed to trust him more than anyone else. And that's the kind of relationship that they had was I would say an eternal relationship, because wherever Prabhupada preaches, then he has this, just like Lord Chaitanya, whenever he appears, he has eternal associates. And Srila Prabhupada also has a preaching mission. He said that in his next preaching mission would be somewhere in the hellish planets. But he has a group that goes with him, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj is his personal secretary. In Atlanta, we were coming up the stairs to see Prabhupada, and whoever was Prabhupada's servant at the time came out and said, "No, what are you doing? You can't come up and just walk into the room. You know, you don't have any appointment or anything." And Tamal Krishna Maharaj just looked at him for a moment and waited until he got out of the way, and then brought us all in and personally introduced every one of his Radha Damodar men to Srila Prabhupada by putting a flower on his desk, and then he would say, like, this is, in my case, this is Bhakti Michael. He joined our party at a young age. And Prabhupada looked up at me and he said, "Oh, very good." And when we sat down, Prabhupada told us that you have a good leader with Tamal Krishna Goswami. If you follow him, then I'll be pleased. Which was an amazing endorsement, because Prabhupada didn't endorse many people like that. And he was 29 years old at the time. So Tamal Krishna Goswami at 29 years old was running a traveling Sankirtan party throughout all of America with 6 buses and over 20 vans with 140 brahmacharis. And then he went on to being Srila Prabhupada's servant into the last days. He was the master of ceremonies at Prabhupada's Samadhi ceremony, and then in 1978 he was asked to come and take over this temple, which was it was quite dilapidated at the time, and there was only a couple of devotees here, and it was tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and Houston wasn't even open at all. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj was sent by the GBC to this place far from home, and he managed to create these communities. So we're all indebted to him, and very much appreciate the great service and what he did for Srila Prabhupada and for all of everybody he had any kind of association with. Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mr. Bhagavan Prabhu. We will, last but not least, we'll hear from Peter Prabhu, and then we will be heading out to the Guru Puja outside of the Samadhi, and everyone who is local is welcome to join us out there. Hare Krishna.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Stayavutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanami Stay Sarasati Eva Gaura Mahachane Nirvisesha Panchakopatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evata Patita Nam Bhagavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. When as soon as I heard about Krishna consciousness, which was in Philadelphia, I was given a magazine, and the magazine had a picture of a Rath Yatra cart, and on the cart was Goswami Maharaj. I remember because he had this distinctive mark on his head. And many years later, I met him and Vishnu John Swami at Peacock Park in Miami. And Goswami Maharaj was, and Vishnu John, they were like a chutney. Goswami always used to like to talk about food. And Vishnu John Swami was the sugar, and Goswami was the chili. So when you saw Vishnu John, you were attracted to come and listen to the beautiful chanting and him glorifying Radha Damodar. And we were all drug-crazed hippies. And I remember dancing in front of Vishnu Jan Maharaj, and then we took prasad, and then they had us go over to the bus and come inside and talk with Goswami Maharaj. And as soon as we talked with him, he would say, you know, what are you doing? You're wasting your life. What do you have any work, or do you have any? Why are you just floating around? And I told him I had met the devotees before in Philadelphia, and actually had met Rabindra Sarup. And he goes, really? He said, so now you should join the temple. And I thought that if I could become even 2% like them, like Vishnu Jan and Tamal Krishna Maharaj, that my life would be perfect. So I said, even I get 2% like this. I don't understand everything, but I'm going to go and join this group. So from Miami, I joined the Radha Damodar Party, and then we traveled all over the United States, and eventually it was time to take initiation, but I waited because I didn't think I could follow 4 regular principles. So I left Radha Damodar and I went to Philadelphia and stayed with Rabindra Sarup again. But Goswami came. Again, he came. So every time I would go someplace, he would show up. And so I always had his, he was always in my life, in my Krishna. I went to Los Angeles, he came there. I went to Bombay, he came there. I went to Vrindavan, he was there. I went to Mayapur, he was there. Then I went to Amsterdam, and then Maharaj he asked Bhagavan to send me to Houston. And he sent me to Dallas, so I came here. And then from Dallas, I met with him here. We did Sankirtan for a short period. And then he sent me to Houston, because Houston was just a small preaching center, a building, and he had made it into a brahmachari ashram. So it's basically a brahmachari temple. Brahmatirtha was there. And then he started telling me that I saw that Maharaj was given the China as his zone. And I asked him, I said, what are you going to do with China? He goes, I don't know. I think that's Guru Kripa's zone. And then later, he came back and he said, so you're interested in China? And I said, yes. Wherever you want me to go, I'll go. So he said, so you can go to Hong Kong. So we went to Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong, I was his servant for every time he was in Hong Kong for around 3 or 4 years. As I lived in Hong Kong off and on, I would cook for him, wash his clothes. He'd ask me, what type of prasadam are you going to make today? And I'd have this cookbook I got in Bombay, Shanka's cookbook. And he looked through this book, he'll say, Shanka Das, he's a good cook. And he went through and he goes, okay, I'll have this one. You make this one and this one. And this. So I'd go back and I would make them and bring it to him. Now, the ladies, they used to cry because when he would cook things and he would criticize their cooking, and then they'd start crying. So I said, Maharaj, it doesn't matter if you yell at me, I'll still cook for you. It doesn't matter. I'll do my best, and I'll follow this book. And then after about 3 weeks of cooking for him, one day I made this eggplant, and it's a burnt eggplant. Sometimes I think they cook it here. And he loved it. It was eggplant with tomato, and he would cook it until it burned a little bit on the bottom. And I would throw some paneer pieces in it or put dhania on top. One day he tasted it and he just tasted it and he stopped and goes, I don't know how you've done it. I said, what? He said, Prabhupada once cooked this for me, and this is the exact taste. How did you get this taste? So he has had they used to say I have a very serious tongue, you know. He said, Peter, you have a very serious tongue. But Maharaj also had very serious tongue. You know, he didn't eat much, but he wanted to eat a lot. He wanted good quality. So, and he always wanted us to make him some pecan burfi, or he always had some box of burfi that he had, and when someone would come, he'd pull it out and give, because Prabhupada used to do this. So he had many things that he learned from Srila Prabhupada about publishing books. I had no idea what I was doing in Hong Kong. I was just there, you know, in complete like limbo type of place, you know. You walk outside and you turn around, you go back into the apartment because it was just so strange, and the people cooked things that were so weird, and they were eating very weird things, and the smells would make you vomit basically. And there was a train that used to come by the apartment, and it was filled with pigs. And that smell would come and fill the whole apartment with this smell of the pig stool. And Goswami he would just close the windows. And we'd shut all the windows. And then wait, and then it was so hot. And then we'd open the windows about 15 minutes later. And he suffered a lot in Hong Kong. He was like doing austerities, and we were doing them together. But I thought it was fun. But he was kind of like told by the GBC to go there, and it was kind of something at first he didn't know how he was going to execute it. But after a very short time, he met one Indian gentleman, Mr. Can't think of his name right now. Mr. Arjun. And he walked down he was chanting his japa in his dhoti down this residential area. And Mr. Arjun called him and said, please come in. And he brought him to his house. And Mr. Arjun was a very rich man. He had one of the founders of Hong Kong. Him and the Hari Leelas, which are the biggest people. They left Pakistan and moved to Hong Kong during the partition. And the Japanese used the Hari Leelas as their banks during World War II. And then afterwards, all the money the Japanese gave them, they never gave it back. So these Hari Leelas ended up with all this Japanese money that they didn't have to give back. And they became Holiday Inn, and there was big tailor shops. And then Mr. Arjun was also assisting in that group. So he made shirts, textile magnet, and he would sell these shirts all over the world. And he had a deal with the Chinese, move his factories from Hong Kong to inside China. And this is the first time that they allowed people to come, foreign, non-Chinese people to come in to set up their factories in Guangzhou. So Goswami he invited Goswami, you come with me and we'll go together to Guangzhou. So he went to Guangzhou, and then before he went, he said, but I have to get some different dress. I got to get some nice clothes. I can't go in as a sannyasi. So we had grown our hair. So then he went out and he got like 2 suits. He got like a dark navy blue suit, and then he got a tan suit with crocodile shoes. Like red shoes, I think they like a kind of a red tints on them. And he came out, and when he got the clothes, he put them on in his room, and he came out, and he says, well, how do you like this one? He said, this one is for business. We talk with them, we have a business meeting, we put on the dark suit. And then for casual, we wear this trope, he called it trope suit, because Maharaj is from New York, so, all these New Yorkers, they know how to dress, So then I said, yeah, he said, so how do you like this? And I said, that one is kind of like casual. A casual tycoon. And he laughed. He said, yes, I like that. Casual tycoon. So they went to Guangzhou, and there he was with Mr. Arjun, but he told the Chinese that he wanted to open a vegetarian restaurant in Guangzhou. So they said, oh, really? So they took him to this Buddhist temple that used to have had a restaurant there, but it was all closed for for 20 years or so since the communists took over. And they said, well, you can do the restaurant here. And there was this old lady he told me the story. There was this old lady that was taking care of the Buddha. And it was the fat Buddha, it's like Mirafal. And Mirafal in Buddhism is the Buddha that comes into the future. He's actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Buddha says, I will come back again, but this time I will come and complete the Dharma. So Mirafal is the one who comes in the future, who completes the Dharma. So Maharaj, he went up and he was praying to Mirafal, and the old lady who was taking care, she told Mr. Arjun, because he could speak Cantonese, she said, he's Gui Lo, which means foreign ghost. Tell the Gui Lo that he's making the Buddha angry. So Goswami, he came back and he said, it was so terrible. She told me, but I know I didn't make Buddha angry. I know he was waiting for us to come. And then every year it became more intense, and he started to print Bhagavad Gita. As soon as he got there, the Bhagavad Gita had already been translated into Chinese by Yasomati Sutta. Yasomati Sutta was the Chinese translator, and Srila Prabhupada had said that Yasomati Sutta is like a sandalwood tree in a forest. One sandal tree can make the whole forest fragrant, and Yasomati Nanda will make his whole dynasty fragrant by translating Bhagavad Gita. So this devotee if you saw him, you just saw this little skinny little Chinese guy with big thick glasses and hardly afraid to say anything. He was very, very shy, Yasomati. And so anyway, we were able to print that book, and now that book was put in all the libraries in China. So, Hare Krishna. I can see my time is finished, but I'm very grateful to Maharaj. Now he's brought me here to Dallas, and it was the last place I thought I was going to come. I got stuck in Europe, and trying to enter India, I got stuck in Europe, and I was there for many, many months at Radhadesh, and I had nothing, not even a dime. And then as soon as I came to Dallas, all of a sudden, everything changed. Money came, everything came. So it was amazing. It's been an amazing adventure for me the last couple of years. Jai Hare Krishna. I'll go to Goswami Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Pita Prabhu. We welcome all of you right now to join us outside at Srila Gurudev's Samadhi here at the park for Srila Gurudev's Guru Puja. And then after that, around 1 p.m., we will be serving the prasadam feast that was offered here to Srila Gurudev and to our deities. So please make your way out to the Samadhi for Guru Puja. Thank you very much for joining us today, either in person or online. And Jai. His Holiness, His Divine Grace, Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki Jai.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody online, for joining us. Of course, now we'll switch over to the Samadhi for the Arti there, the Guru Puja. So please bear with us as they're moving over to the Samadhi.
Hare Krishna. Please join us here for the Guru Puja outside.
Gurudeva, Jai Gurudeva, Jai Gurudeva, Jai Gurudeva, Jai Gurudeva, Jai Gurudeva, Jai Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jai Gurudeva. Jai Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva. Jai Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva. Jai Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva. Samsaradava Nalalita Loka Tanaya Karunya Ganaganatum Samsaradava Navidaloka Chanaya Karunya Ganaganatam Atashakaya Nagunanavasya Mande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Ha Prabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Paditrama Dhamana Sorasena Ramachakamba Jutarananda Bhajo Vande Guru Sri Charanaravinda Vivekrahara Nityananda Sundaratan Mandira Madinado Tuntasya Bhaktam Chaniyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasado Satvana Chirtan Hari Bhakti Sangha Traiva Chiptim Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Viradhika Madhavayonapada Madhurya Lila Gunarupangana Ikshana Vadanalokaya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Vande Guru Shri Shadari Train Samashta Shastre Uttata Pragyata Vasadi Rupaboya Piyevatacha Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Yasya Prashadat Bhagavat Prashado Yasya Prashadan Nagati Tuchoti Dayam Suvam Tasya Yasya Shri Sangam Vande Guru
Jayam Shivam Stasya Yashasvi Sanya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda
Tasya Yasya Shri Sangam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam.
Jayam Shivam Stasya Yashasvi Sanya Hare Krishna Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda
Vande Guru
Shri Charanarvinda Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinda
Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami Tamal Krishna Goswami Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Straighten this picture out. Divine grace, Srila Tamal, Krishna Goswami Maharaj, Shri Gurudev. Jai. Jai Vishnu Bhakti Mahamsa Guriraja Kacharya Pashota Divine grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Amacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. Jai. Prem se कहो श्री कृष्ण चेतन प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री गौर श्री राधे कृष्ण गोविंद गोविंद श्याम सुंदर राधे कृष्ण गोविंद जय श्री वृंदावन राम जय श्री मायापुर नगरी जय श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय वंदे जय Jamuni Mai ki jai, Kosi Maharaj ki jai, Bhakti Dev ki jai, Swami Dev ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, O Prem Nande, praise to the Son of the Lord, praise to the Son of the Lord, all glories to the Son of the Lord, divine grace, Srila Tamal, Krishna Goswami Maharaj, Gurudev ki jai.
And now we'll be serving the feast out in the activity room downstairs. And you're welcome to take a box and take them home, or you can down in the park if you want and set in the park. Gurudev ki
Jai, Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Vancha Kalpataruvascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you all so very much for giving us your time, your valuable time, and your blessings. We look forward to seeing you at the next program. I think tonight there's another program in Houston for Srila Gurudev. And of course, tomorrow, our time tomorrow, the celebration starts in India as well, around the world. We look forward to everybody's association at that time too. Thank you all so very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhu, can you sign off the program? Because you are the host right now.
Oh, I am the host. Oh, sorry. I didn't. Okay, I'll do that.